Hello, my name is Molly Larson. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation. We acknowledge that the lands where we congregate are the traditional homelands of the Ojibwa, Dakota, and Ho-Chunk nations. We are a religious community who commit ourselves to diversity. We hope to nourish human differences, those of gender, race, age, ability, sexual orientation, political views, culture, class, and religious belief. Welcome to all who treasure freedom of conscience in the search for truth. We promise to do our best to provide you a spiritual home. We extend a special welcome to our visitors today. We hope you follow our Facebook page, and to participate in Zoom and receive announcements about special events and our religious exploration classes, please sign up for our weekly email. There should be a link in the comments section on our Facebook page where you can sign up. This morning in RE 9th through 12th graders in A Place of Wholeness are exploring the roots and wings of the Unitarian Universalism by exploring its history and where the next generation fits in. 6th through 8th grade is exploring the concept of honoring their ancestors and getting started on their family photo project in families. Soul Matters is being explored by both our 4K through 1st graders and 2nd through 5th graders with a focus on the topic of being true to themselves. There is no virtual RE meeting this week. Next Sunday, families are invited to remain together upstairs for our multi-generational Fall and Leave service with a drive-through trunk or treat event at 1 p.m. We're so glad that you joined us today.
And I am here supporting the auction. We are in the home stretch. And as hopefully you know, we're going to be doing it all virtual this year. And some of us have done a lot of virtual this year. So we thought we'd spice it up a little bit and add some fun. So if you choose to partake in our fun, we have an add-on this year. Got some props here, just a second. Okay. So if you'd like, we have some bow ties that flash in 3 different patterns even. We have some hats with the logo, our beautiful window, on them. I have a huge head, so everybody else will be able to fit them just fine. And then we also made either party favor bowls, or if you turn them the right way and there's Velcro on the bottom, we have a chalice with a candle. So, which also has the logo for this year's auction on it. All of the logos can be removed, so it's a totally reusable situation for later of service. And this whole set, 2 hats, 2 bow ties, the chalice and the light will be available at the back. If you want to grab one tonight, they're $10 for the whole kit. Or we're also going to upload a link to them in a few days. So if you're buying your tickets, you can get them then. Excuse me. We also have some additional added or extra hats and bow ties if you have more than 2 people in your party, or if you just want a hat or a bow tie, that's totally understandable too. A few extra additional thoughts we have here, sorry. So also, just as a reminder, today's our last day for donations. If it's too, so it isn't too late to fill out a form in the back table if you'd like to either provide a service or a donation of an item. If you can't get them to us today, we'll try to work with you to figure out a way to pick them up, or you could potentially drop them off. So just talk to us at the back of the service, and we'll help you out. And we hope to see many of you at the actual auction, which is just 3 weeks away. So thank you so much. Have a good day.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation in Eau Claire. I'm Allison Oliphant. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm your worship associate today. Today's service is about cultivating relationships. This can mean with ourselves, with others, with communities.
Okay, is that a little bit better, everybody? Okay, sorry about that. There we go.
Cultivating relationships with technology. Relationships hold us at our best and worst times. We open our service with these words by Lindsay Bates. Come, let us worship together. Let us open our minds to the challenge of reason. Open our hearts to the healing of love. Open our lives to the calling of conscience. Open our souls to the comfort of joy. Astonished by the miracle of life, grateful for the gift of fellowship, confident in the power of living faith, we are here gathered. Come, let us worship together. We will now light our chalice. You can read with me the words printed in your order of service. As the chalice is lit, let us come together into the sacred space we have created. Let the cares of the day fall away and know that here is a place for quiet reflection, for our lives, for breathing into our true selves. Let what is said and felt here add richness to the dimensions of our lives and spiritual practices. We are strong together in community. We share the experience of being human. Let the warmth of the chalice lit during our time together connect us and carry us into the world.
Checking on sound from here, or if we want to use the wireless microphone. Okay, so we will do it from here. Everybody can hear okay now? Okay, wonderful. Thank you for your patience.
Good morning. My name is Donald Mowry, and I'm here representing Roundtable Revival, which is the 50-50 Share the Plate recipient. And on the topic of Soul Matters, Cultivating Relationships, I recently attended an event in this sanctuary that featured people who had been released from jail or prison. The title of the presentation was Locked Up on the Outside. Think about that for a minute. Locked up on the outside. It refers to the continuing obstacles and stigma that people face even after they've served their time, they've paid their debt to society, and they've been released back into the community. Through the testimony and stories of the people who had been formerly incarcerated, a couple themes really stood out to me. One was constant fear of freedom. People who are still on extended supervision are always expecting that today will be the day that they will get reported for doing something and that they will lose their freedom and end up back in jail or prison. It's not always a new crime. Sometimes it's a violation of the rules of probation. Sometimes it's just someone has alleged that they've done something when they haven't, or so it's not even something that they've done something prohibited. One person was testified that they were accused of theft from an employer. She was confronted and arrested as she left her employment and she spent 3 weeks in jail. She hired an attorney. She spent $500 on the lie detector test before she was finally absolved and released. And when she got back to the treatment center where she was living, some of the few things that she owned were missing. Can you imagine having only a few things to your name and having them go missing while you're falsely accused of a crime and spent time in jail? Another was reported because the person, somebody, an anonymous person, alleged that they had purchased a firearm, which is prohibited under the rules of probation. That person spent 2 weeks in jail, lost their job, was finally released because there was no firearm discovered. The probation officer never apologized, and it was traumatizing for the whole family. That person said that person's daughter now hates the police. Another theme was, we are more than the worst thing we have done. Recovery reentry can happen when people take a chance and believe in a person. Some probation officers do believe in the people they are supervising, some do not. One person said, "We have a philosophy of no child left behind. Why don't we help people during reentry?" Another person said the only reentry services they obtained was a 5-minute discussion before they were released. A third person said, when you come back to the community, you get a label, you're confronted with stigma, and people discount your strengths and restrict your opportunities. On the good side, one person said, my PO saved my life because she told me to believe in myself. Soul Matters, cultivating relationships. How different would it be if reentry were a time when we paid particular attention to the souls of persons who are returning to our community? What if we met them on day one, listened to their plans and their goals, and believed in their ability to be successful? What if we mentored them on their journey and supported their efforts to attain safe housing, employment, or job training, mental health care, transportation, and other goals? What if we cultivated a relationship with them that challenged our own stereotypes and worked to overcome stigma in the community? As one participant put it, we need to put the community back in community corrections. Roundtable Revival is hoping to do just that. Please consider joining us by sharing your time, talents, and treasures. We are especially interested in people who are willing to take a chance on cultivating a new mentoring relationship with a person who is facing the challenges of reentry. Once again, in the words of someone with lived experience with the criminal justice system, We need people to believe in us. We are more than the worst thing we have ever done. Thank you.
Now let us turn to this reading by Marcus Harleaf. The Unitarian Universalist congregation where I served as an intern made a mosaic tree of life the summer before I arrived. Congregants of all ages came together to craft the tree's leaves using bits and pieces of broken ceramics, jewelry, glass, and stone. There are many precious personal items in the tree, including fragments of the Berlin Wall, a father's watch face, pieces of great-grandmother's china, and a key to the front door of a loved home. Like the members of the community that brought them together, each part is imbued with memories and meaning. Each fragment holds a piece of truth. A mosaic made with many pieces of broken glass, forming a large tree. Unitarian Universalists are mosaic makers. We are a people who bring together the broken pieces of our histories and the shining pieces of our seeking, and piece by piece create a mosaic religion. Our tree of life is found in the stories of our living tradition. The bead from a transformational moment of worship at a youth conference, the bit of paper stamped with the blazing emblem of the Unitarian Service Committee that saved lives during World War II, the button or patch on a backpack that proudly proclaims the first justice issue that lit our souls on fire. But our mosaic making tells another story too, one that is often more difficult to see, one that is essential to the purpose of religious community, one that lies not in the beautiful and broken bits and pieces, but in the grout. Grout, the chalky, gritty stuff that is squeezed between the cracks of tiles. In a mosaic, the grout holds the image together, unifying disparate pieces into a whole. The grout of a community takes years to lay and settle. Grout happens in board meetings and committee meetings and endless emails and slow-moving institutions. It is in weekly potlucks shared by neighbors, a ride to church, and coffee in the social hall after worship. While the folks who show up for church only on Christmas and Easter will hopefully enjoy the beauty of the mosaic they find, they may never know the power of the grout that holds us through all the seasons of life. We help to make the grout when we learn each other's names and when we reach out across generational divides. We help to make the grout when we show up on Sunday morning without having checked first to see if we're interested in the sermon topic. When a newborn arrives to be blessed by the community, it is the grout that enables us to welcome them. And it is in the grout that we rest when we gather to grieve and memorialize a beloved one who has died. Hold us, O grout. Gather us in through time and space and make all our broken pieces whole in community. In our multiplicity, make us one. From each of our jagged edges, give us the shape of a communal beauty.
Now is the time in our service where we share of our resources and we hear lovely music. Today we're going to hear a song from Jem that was written by him. And our 50-50 Share the Plate recipient is, as we heard, the Roundtable Revival, and talking about relationships and really seeing the inherent worth and dignity in each person and how we can participate in that as a community here in this congregation and in Eau Claire, to see value in people, not by what has happened in their past, but to value them as people. You can, on your order of service, we have one of those little handy-dandy scan codes. We also, you can text to give. I won't do the little text thing like they do at America's Got Talent. 8, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anyway, you can text to give. And also, for those of you in person, we don't pass the plate anymore, just in the interest of having people not getting up in each other's spaces. We do have a box in the gathering room if you want to fill out an envelope and drop it in there. All of these things support this congregation, and also the 50/50 Share the Plate. With gratitude for the abundance in our lives, we give to help those in need and support the work of this congregation. The offering will now be given and so very gratefully received. Thank you.
I went to see the old man today. He lives on the second floor. They moved him to the north wing last year. He didn't like his neighbors anymore. He's always glad to see me, greets me with a smile. Still wears the old blue fishing jacket. Always makes me back in time. Conversation's always the same. He asks about my work and life. He wonders what the kids are up to. Then we start again, rewind. I wonder how much longer he has. Could this be the last time? I wish that I had taken the chance to thank him in a present mind. I went to see the old man today. He lives on the second floor. They moved him to the north wing last year. He didn't like his neighbors anymore. He didn't like his neighbors anymore. Didn't like his neighbors anymore.
Thank you for that. So now we have a meditation by Meg Barnhouse, and I invite you to settle into your seat, drop your shoulders, take a deep breath. We all hold things so tightly in our bodies. It's a difficult time. And on a day like today, when the sun is trying to come out, when we are gathered here on this Sunday, looking for inspiration and joy, hearing music from our beloved folks like Julia and Jem and Jackie and Charlotte. We're so grateful to gather here. This is a meditation by Meg Barnhouse called Brick by Brick. All summer, workers had been building a brick wall along the road by my neighborhood. Against the brutal heat, they stretch a tarp overhead to get a little shade. I've definitely been there. I grew up in the South, so doing work outside, it's hot. I watched them take bricks in their dusty brown hands, one by one, butter them thickly with mortar, line them up and tap them down. One man looked to be in his 70s. His beard was gray, he was slender and tall. He moves from one group of bricklayers to the next, reaching and bending, looking like a heron in the marsh. When he pauses, he stands very straight. I see him teach the others how to do the work. He stoops over to look at a line of bricks, hands on his thighs, inspecting the work. Sometimes as I drive by, I see him put his hand on the back of a person he's teaching. Often they are both smiling. He looks like he loves what he is doing. I wonder what he could love about building walls day after day, handling bricks, teaching the art of laying bricks. Is it the teaching that he loves? Seeing how his students learn what their styles are? Seeing how his hands move and change things? Does he love the wall itself? Does he know how it will be done? Or is it the process, the feel of the bricks in his hands, the squish of the mortar, the challenge of making the symmetry of pillars and arches, the geometry of it? I think from the look on his face that he loves the process. I imagine that he never thinks about the end of the project, the completion of the wall. I think he'll go on to the next wall as if it were just a continuation of this one, and the next one, and the next one. I want to be like that, and I am, I guess. In my job as a minister, the bricks are stories. I hear stories of family and work, stories of loss and reconciliation, stories of disaster, illness, healing and dying. I tell stories every Sunday in between teaching and challenging and patting people on the back, people learning to laugh and think, brick by brick, story by story, or as Allison told us, it is the grout which holds us together, seeing the symmetry, the joy, sustaining this beautiful structure, both physically and in spirit and out in space and Zoom and Facebook. We will never be finished, and that is okay. Take another breath. Never being finished, and that's okay. That's a powerful feeling, that idea that we can keep going. I wanted to take a moment and move into this time of thinking about relationship. And I was visiting Alan Jackson the other day and found that it was hard to go into the classic knowing that someone that we have loved and so long is starting to diminish. And, we often avoid things that are hard with relationships, knowing that we are in vulnerable spaces, that we will be moved and touched in ways that are hard. So I went inside, and there was a young lady at the desk, and she said, "Oh, who are you visiting?" And I said, "Oh, I'm coming to visit Alan Jackson. He's a member at my congregation." And she said, "Oh, that's wonderful. One of his friends was here to visit this morning. He will love to see you." And she said, "It's so wonderful that he's done so well over this past year." And she just went on to talk about him and her relationship with him. I would have had no idea this relationship that she had with him, but we chatted. And when I went to his room, he had his eyes closed, and he said I could share this with you. I'm not just telling stories. And he wanted to say hi to all of his folks here at the fellowship, as he calls it, because that was the original name of this congregation, was the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And I walked in, he had his eyes closed, and he said, "Oh, hi. I thought you might be deaf coming." And I said, "Nope, not today." And he laughed a little bit, and we sat and talked, and he told me about his family. He talked to me about the relationships that mattered to him. So there at the end of days, as you hear in The Lord of the Rings, here at the end of all things, when Frodo and Sam are sitting thinking it is the end, we don't really know when the end is. We don't know when our last days are necessarily, but we can live each day being thankful for the relationships that we have. And Alan had this sense of gratitude, and he's out about being in the AA community. He's been in it for over 50 years, and he said, "I can't go to meetings anymore, but I hold people right here in my heart. And I hold the fellowship right here in my heart. Please tell them that. Please tell them that." And so even though you may not see people face to face, you don't always know the impact of your words or your kindness or your relationship. And, the impact of hearing about Jim's song about his father and visiting him. And, we make music, we reach out, we try and live lives that matter, that touch other people. And it does matter. Even those small things that we do make a difference. I was getting my hair cut yesterday, the lovely Anna Valez, and she has curly hair, and she does theater, and she was telling me all about her wonderful play that she's going to be doing. And just, some people you walk in and you just it just brightens your day. And she said, "How are you?" And I just literally went, and I slipped in my chair, and my eyes got wet, and I said, "Thank you for asking that." And how simple is that? How are you? But we've been so removed from each other in different ways because of safety precautions and masks, and just to be together is healing, however we can do that. And then that simple question, how are you? How are things going with you? And I saw on Facebook recently, check on your friends that are strong. Those friends that seem just fine, check on them too. And I think that's true, that we often present a face, like I'll take pictures of fall leaves, or maybe people post pictures of their dinner, which always makes me really jealous. Or their cute little kids all dressed up, but what's behind those photos? What are the moments of anxiety or concern or loneliness or all those things that are behind that curtain? We see the wizard behind the curtain. I wanted to talk today, too, about a man by the name of John Lewis. we think about relationship, and John Lewis was an amazing man. He was an American statesman, a civil rights activist. He was the chairman of Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He is one of the Big Six who organized the 1963 March on Washington. And he was a huge part of the civil rights movement, led the first of 3 Selma marches over the Edmund Pettus Bridge, became known as Bloody Sunday. Well, I wanted to tell a story. We lost him in July of 2020, and he always talked about making good trouble, which I think is such a great thing. Make good trouble. He had lived a long life, and asking of himself, as we are all asked, he said to show up, to do justice, to do what we can, and just a little bit more to make sure that there is fairness in our country. He grew up in a large family. He would spend time with his aunts and uncles and his siblings and cousins. There were many children in the neighborhood. They would play together. This was long before the pandemic, so people could play, hang out, have lemonade. Mr. Lewis tells in his memoir about a time when he was playing outside with his aunt, outside his Aunt Saniva's house, with about 14 other children, when a big storm came up. And when you're little, storms can be pretty scary. And these are his words. Aunt Saniva was the only adult around, and as the sky blackened and the wind grew stronger, she herded us all inside. Her house was not the biggest place around, and it seemed even smaller with all these children squeezed inside. Small and surprisingly quiet, all of the shouting and laughter that had been going on earlier outside had stopped. The wind was howling now, and the house was starting to shake. We were scared. Even Aunt Saniva was scared. And then it got worse. The house was beginning to sway. The wood plank flooring beneath us began to bend. And then a corner of the room started lighting up. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. None of us could. The storm was actually pulling the house toward the sky with us inside of it. That was when we all clasped hands, lined up and clasped hands, and we did what we were told. And then she had us walk as a group to the corner of the room that was rising. From the kitchen to the front of the house we walked, the wind screaming outside, sheets of rain beating on the tin roof. And we walked back in the other direction as the other side of the house began to lift. And so it went back and forth, 15 children walking with the wind, holding that trembling house down with the weight of our small bodies. Can you imagine what it was like to be inside of a house with all that wind? And when John Lewis was much older and he was writing down the story of his whole astounding life, he wrote these words. More than a half century has passed since that day, and it struck me more than once over those many years that our society is not unlike the children in that house, rocked and rocked again by the winds of one storm or another, the walls around us seeming at times as if they might fly apart. It seemed that way in the 1960s, at the height of the civil rights movement, when America itself felt as if it might burst at the seams. So many storms, so much tension, but the people of conscience never left that house. They never ran away. They came together, they clasped hands and did the best that they could. And then another corner would lift and we would go there. And then eventually the storm would settle and the house would still stand. But we knew another storm would come and we would have to do it all over again. And we did. And we still do, all of us, you and I. Children holding hands, walking with the wind. And so I think about the power of that community, holding your house together literally by walking back and forth. And we think about the power of community to help each other, whether we bring soup if someone's sick, if we visit someone, if we hear a story. The stories that we tell about ourselves and our lives are the map of who we are, that we matter. And that's why Roundtable Revival is so powerful, by telling people, yes, you had things in your life that didn't go as you had wished, or you might have done things that you might not be proud of, but today is today, and we have a chance to start again. So I want you to think about a relationship that has held you, even in your hardest of times. I had a best friend. His name was Brian Whitley. He had curly hair, freckles, and he would cry at the drop of a hat, and people would tease him. And I was on the opposite end. I was the one who would run up the trees, and I was tough and would climb, and we were a pair made in heaven. We got married. I promise it wasn't legal, so I am. But we got married under the pine tree in front of my house in South Carolina. I borrowed my mom's wedding ring, and luckily didn't get in too much trouble because my sister found it before my mom did, and she put the ring away and made us little rings out of tinfoil. And she officiated our wedding underneath the pine tree. And Brian was the type of person from kindergarten into third grade that I could be myself. I didn't have to pretend. I didn't have to, say, oh, you're big and strong. Instead, I got to be big and strong, and I would take care of the snake, and he would be just fine with that. And we would play pretend, and we would hang out at his house on the sleeping bags and pretend like they were cages and roar at each other. Taught me my first bad word. All the things that we did together. And I think about that relationship. His mom was like one of those folks out of a sitcom, just large and welcoming presence. She would have Pop-Tarts, which were unknown in my house. And so many things I can go back and just think warm and fuzzy thoughts about. And when Brian moved away in third grade, I remember it broke my little heart. And I would write him letters on my Ziggy stationery about how much I missed him. And I have never reconnected with him on Facebook or otherwise, but I think back to that friendship, that childhood sweetheart or soulmate or whatever it was, that time that we offered each other refuge. And I find as an adult, those spaces are a lot harder to find, because we have so many judgments or busyness or expectation. And I like to think that places like this, in the UU congregation, we can let down our walls a little bit and be who we are, be quirky, make mistakes, sometimes say a bad word. I want to walk in the wind, holding hands when times are hard. I want to sit at the bedside of someone like Alan Jackson. I want to do a baby dedication at the park. Be with you at your daughter's graduation, or watch you play piano and get better and better. These are the ways that we can walk with each other and be with each other, cultivating relationships that support us in good and bad times. May you find those places and spaces that give you refuge, where you can make vows underneath pine trees to yourself, to nature, to those you love, and be supported. Amen. Now we're going to move into Extinguishing Our Chalice with Allison Oliphant.
Please join in reading the words for Extinguishing Our Chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing words are by Chris Rothbauer. May our lives be reflections of the beauty, peace, and joy that is possible in the world. And may the love we find in this place sustain us as we go our separate ways. Thank you so much for being here with us today in service.